Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It is a scorcher outside. Hope everybody is staying cool. We are changing things up this week with our live streams. There will be no live stream on Friday in observance of the 4th of July. And today, rather than work on the book that I have been working on as part of a live stream series, I wanted to use today to focus on the new assistant feature, really show off its capabilities and what it can do, put it through its paces. So this is going to be kind of largely a tech demo and a tutorial showing off and explaining what the assistant can do and the different options that gives folks using it to collaborate and help work things through on their story. So we're going to be starting a new story from scratch here. And I'm going to be going through the process in the Laterpress editor to describe how things work, and probably going through the process a lot faster than I would really trying to nail everything down for a story, because like I said, today is a tech demo and showing off the features and explaining things. So we're going to start by creating a new story, and I'm just going to call it Eco Terrorist Pandemic, Pandemic, not the real title, but as a placeholder to get us started. And I'm skipping the generate outline new story flow. We're going to go right into the editor here. And note that for this new story, the idea, the character tab, lore cards, settings, all of this is empty and by default right now. And so up here at the top of the editor, clicking the assistant. Oh, one thing I want to do is make sure the outline is visible. So we've got all of the beats here, and again, you can see the beats are blank. I'm going to pull up the assistant and start a conversation, and I'm pasting in what I had written as prep prior to this stream so that we weren't spending time talking. We'll go full screen with this. My camera's partially covering it, but I'm gonna read it out to you. So my starting prompt here is help me write a story. The idea is a group of eco-terrorists with allies in the US government unleash a new pandemic on humanity. They believe humanity is a disease and the only way to save the planet is total human extinction. The terrorists' allies in the government, however, want only a 95% population reduction and intend to be the ones ruling over the ashes once the old world is burned away. These eco-terrorists are anti-human, cynical people. They are the antagonists. Do not try to make them sympathetic. I put that in there because AI sometimes likes to soften the edges and say, the bad guys weren't really bad guys. They're just misguided, or their hearts are in a good place. And I'm sorry, but if you think that killing 95 to 100% of humanity is a good place, or simply being misguided, well, you and I don't see eye to eye on things. They're horrible people, and I need the AI not to sympathize with them. This is a dual protagonist story. One character is a scientist, the other is a senator being groomed to join the ranks of the terrorists, and he's horrified by what he discovers. The protagonist's arcs cannot run in parallel the whole time. They must connect at some point in the book. So that's my starting point here. And so I've got the assistant up full screen right now. At any point I can click this button up here and return it to a tab, so that I've got the bulk of the action that's happening in the editor here. So these bubbles here, get idea, get template, outlines. This is showing what the AI is doing or what information it is accessing to be able to process the request and move things forward. It says this is a rich, high-stakes premise. The thriller template is the best structural fit. It's built for conspiracy, escalating danger, and climactic confrontation. I'll use it as the backbone, then customize the beat descriptions to serve your dual protagonist structure and the specific story beats your premise demands. So this right here, this is the 3-act story structure. So it's telling me from the roster of plot templates that we have pre-built that it thinks the thriller template is better than the system default. And now it's got update the idea, and it's got, and it is put in the idea here. I'm going to auto approve all just to let it keep jamming and do what it's going to do. It says the thriller template is the perfect fit. Let me apply it now. Let me get all of the beat IDs to fill in. That template has 13 plot beats. Now let me fill them all in with rich story-specific descriptions that serve your dual protagonist structure. And so now I come back to this, and you can see all of the beats that were there before are gone. The 3-act structure, which was the default, has been swapped out. The thriller plot beat has been subbed in. The AI did that automatically. I didn't have to tell it which plot template was the best. It made that decision based on the content of what I wanted to work on. And so now it is still working. You can see it's working because over here in this bottom right corner of the screen, which my camera is blocking, I need to unlock my webcam so I can move it here. You see waiting for response. That is the signal that the AI is still cooking. And this is one of the realities of working with an AI assistant, is that you need a little bit of patience while it cooks and it does what it's going to do, and let it figure everything out and then get back to you with a response. So as we can see now, this just updated with all of the plot points filled in, and it's still working. But we could start reading through the hook in crisis. There's the introduction of the protagonist, inciting threat, reluctant engagement, early investigation or action, first attack / escalation, allies and mistrust. So all of these plot points now are filled in. And I don't think it's done character cards or lore cards yet, so I think that's what it's working on now. But so basically what's happening here, I'm going to go full screen again so that this is better centered and more readable. While it's cooking, from the beginning, I gave it an idea. It looks at idea and it looks at outline templates. It decided the best template, updated an idea based on and created an idea based on the concept that I gave it, applied the outline template, updated all of the beats. Okay, now it's giving me a summary of what it's done. What's been set up: the story premise, the beat sheets, the characters, and when it's finished with things, it moves things up here so that if you want to dive into the specifics, all of that information is there, but I will also show you another spot to find it. So we've got our plot, our beat sheet, our characters, and some lore and world building notes. And then I'll say, where would you like to go from here? I could start writing chapters, develop scene cards for any beat, deepen any character, add any more lore. What's next? What's next is that I would read through all of this and see what's there and then make decisions on what I like or what I want to change. But I want to leave the assistant for a second and click the wiki, and which was located right up here at the top of the editor. And I'm going to go full screen with this, and you can see the idea tab is now filled in with the story concept and the characters. All of the characters have filled out character cards made for them, ready to go to inform the story and the context. And we've got lore entries in here. So all of that is set up and ready to go very quickly based on my initial story concept. Now I'm gonna pull up this again, and let's say before I want it to start writing anything, I'm gonna ask it to do an audit of the plot outline you just created. Give me a breakdown of where it succeeds and any... No, I don't care where. I don't need AI to pat itself on the back. Do an audit of the plot outline you just created. Look for any gaps in logic or continuity. I can't talk and type at the same time. Any continuity errors. CONTINUA. Give me a report on what you find. Also consider pacing. Does the story drag anywhere? I'm going to say do not change anything yet. I only want a report on your conclusions. So I like asking the AI to reflect on what it just did with a more critical lens, because it will sometimes see errors in its own setup, which you can then push it to eradicate or do a better job with it. If I was going through this process more slowly, I would read everything myself and then give it more specific feedback on where the outline it generated gels with my vision and where it's going that I don't like it, and give it specific notes on how I would change things so that an outline more closely mirrors my vision here. But for the sake of this, I'm going to start by having it audit itself, and we'll see what it says, and then we'll make next steps from there. So here's its plot audit report. Logic and continuity issues. The prologue contradicts the lore, minor but fixable. The lore entry for X7 states it was released simultaneously at 3 international transit hubs, with Atlanta being the primary release point. But the prologue depicts only a single release, one operative, one airport. Either the prologue needs to acknowledge the other 2 releases are happening simultaneously, or the lore needs to be revised to make Atlanta the sole release point. As written, a careful reader will notice the discrepancy. This is a small fix, but the kind of thing that erodes trust in the world building. So we've got right there, okay, it caught one thing that it's doing. We can fix that. Hail is shown in the first timeline, but why? In the first attack, escalation. Okay. Voss is reinstated, then immediately sidelined again. In the reluctant engagement beat, Voss is ordered off the case. In the first attack, escalation beat, she's officially back on the response team. No explanation is given for her reinstatement. This is a continuity gap. So it can see its own logic errors, and frequently in the first pass, there will be logic errors, I have found, if you're trying to get a whole novel's worth of outline in one shot. Priya Shen is introduced in the Allies and Mistrust beat as someone who has been tracking the Covenant's encrypted communications for months. She arrives fully formed with partial decryption of the operational timeline at exactly the moment Voss and Hale need her. There's no setup for her experience in any prior beat. A reader will reasonably ask, why hasn't Priya already gone to someone with this information? What stopped her for months? Her character profile says she stumbled onto the Covenant's network by accident, but that backstory needs at least a brief plant earlier in the narrative. Her arrival at the exact right moment will feel like a Deus Ex Machina. So, as you can see, it gave me. We started this whole thing live, haven't read through to audit it ourselves, but this feels like reasonable critique somebody would make based on what's there. Pacing issues. Beats 2 through 5 run in parallel too long. They follow the same structural pattern. Voss does something, then Hale does something, in alternating chapters with no connection between them. That's 4 connective beats, roughly the entire first of the book, where the two protagonists never interact and their stories never touch. This is a significant pacing risk. Parallel dual protagonist structures work when each thread has its own escalating momentum, but if both threads are in investigation mode for 4 beats, then the book feels like 2 slow burns rather than 1 accelerating thriller. You get the point. Structural observations and the summary. So it gave me all of that. These issues are fixable at the outline level before a single chapter is written. Let me know which ones you'd like to address, or if you'd like me to propose specific fixes for any of them. Again, helpful feedback at this stage, and in a longer form environment, I would look to the outline as is. I would reflect on all of these, and I would make executive decisions about how I want to pace things some more. But because today is strictly about showing what the assistant can do, I'm going to just ask it to provide me explanations for how you would fix each of these problems, then implement your changes into the outline, modifying beats as necessary. I'm going to have it go. And okay, now it's going to reread the existing outline as an update before diving into the action here. Here are my proposed fixes for all 15 issues, followed immediately by the implementation. So I asked for the explanations here rather than just saying fix the outline, because if I tell it just fix the outline, I may not necessarily notice what changed. So by having the assistant give me the breakdown here of what it would change, I can now cross-reference this against what it's going to do, changing the beats here to correct things. So it says so it gave me an update for all 15 of its changes. Several fixes are cross-beat. Hey Samuel, good to see you. Welcome in. So we're currently waiting now for the assistant to implement the 15 fixes the 15 issues that I identified. It will implement the changes automatically into each of the beat cards. So that is what we're waiting for here. Yeah, no worries, Samuel. It's the video will remain live, so after I've gone offline, you'd be able to rewatch from the beginning to see all of the setup so far. This is not the urban fantasy rom-com that we've been working on. I do intend to try out the assistant on that next stream, but for today's stream, I wanted to show a new book starting from square one to show off the functionality of the new assistant and all of the things that it is capable of doing. Stiff neck. Oh boy, that felt good. So we're still waiting on the AI here. I did ask for a big change. It is going to be implementing 15 different changes and updating the entire plot outline. So that's a lot of work to do. So we do have to give it a minute to cook. Like I said, still waiting for a response here. So my plan of action here, once those fixes are in and the plot is updated, which it looks like is happening now, because I just saw a flash on my screen of things updating. Up next, we're going to work on scene cards and generating those. So it's now giving me a summary of everything that it updated and changed. And its different fixes, which beat they applied to. So I could review each of these beats, read what they say, read the fix, and verify that the fix went in there as intended. So all of this documentation on everything I've requested and all of the changes that it made is right here across the entire thread so far. And it says the outline is now internally consistent, tightly paced, and every major plant has a payoff, ready to move on to scene, cards, chapters, or prose whenever you are. We're going to take it at its word for now and say, please make the scene cards for the first 3 plot beats. Use only general scene cards. And I do recommend specifying what kind of scene card you want. I prefer the general ones, which are just kind of an open paragraph to write out what happens in a chapter or a scene. The other types are action or reflection, which I think are a little more basic, a little bit more for absolute beginners. They're not my style, they're not my preference. So I want to specify to make sure that the AI is working within my preferences there. So I want only general scene cards, and each scene card needs to have enough substance to carry an entire chapter. I'll refine more of my plotting and phrasing of things with this over time. Needs to have enough substance to carry an entire chapter. And I don't think I need to specify to make the chapters. It will do that automatically. So I've got, please make the scene cards for the first 3 plot beats. Use only general scene cards. Each card needs to have enough substance to carry an entire chapter. You can see it's accessing the outline, it's accessing the characters, and it's accessing the beats. It has now created a chapter, created a chapter, created a chapter, created a chapter. So it's all of this is updating as things have happened. This would be visible in the editor if I had this on a sidebar, but right now I've got all of this up front here. The first 3 beats are, and it introduces what it did. That's 5 scene cards total, each carrying a full chapter. I'll create them one at a time, beat by beat, using the correct chapter IDs. Okay, so it's still working on these. It notes the beats don't have chapters yet. I need to create them first, then add the scene cards to each. I'll create all 5 chapters across the 3 beats, then populate each with its scene card. All 5 chapters created. Now I'll create the scene cards one by one, each in its correct chapter. So as you can see, the assistant is explaining what it's doing as it goes, And here is the log of the things that it has accessed or the actions it has executed. So I got the outline, got the characters, read the 3 beats because I told it to look at the first 3 beats. It then created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters, and now created 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're waiting on a 5th scene card. Let's click out of here full screen and actually see it in the editor. Here's the chapter. It's a prologue. Here's all of the text for the scene card. Here's the beat. Here's chapter 2. Is the scene card in here yet? Yep, there's the scene card. Chapter 3, it's named, it's titled. We have our scene card. Second plot beat. There's our scene card. There's our chapter, there's our scene card. It looks like it only did the, so it's not always perfect. It looks like it did the, hook and crisis. We have a beat. Oh, it did do it right. Introduction to the protagonist, that's plot beat 2, chapter, plot beat 3, chapter. Okay, I skimmed it too fast. It did give me the first 3 plot beats like I asked for. And so now I've got all of the scene cards here. And now, let's say, okay, so you can see all of it's there. I'm going back to full screen for demo visibility again. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Let's vibe write the first chapter. I'm looking for approximately 2,000 words. Keep the prose lean and objective. Do not use metaphors. Limit your use of the rule of 3 to an absolute minimum. I mean, I would be more specific with instructions, again, in a slower paced session. So now it's going to think. It's pulling the scenes. It is pulling the writing style. I did not specify my own writing style for this yet, but if I had gone into the settings and added style notes, then it would be pulling that. So that's a good reminder to have that set up as well. And it has everything it needs. It is writing now. And so now we await for the response on what it's going to come up with. I have not done these often enough to see if it's going to let me know when it's done. Okay, what it did is it did it. And as you can see, the assistant automatically put the text in the chapter. So I asked for the chapter. It gave me the chapter. Explain what it did here. Chapter 1 is written. Here's a quick note on the craft choices made. Lean and objective. No metaphors, because I wanted those. Rule of 3 avoided. The chill comes from absence. Yeah, final image. The horror is the understatement. So it gave me an explanation for what it was trying to achieve. And so now I could read through all of this. And one thing I am noticing here is he, there's an overuse of beginning paragraphs with pronouns. So that's one thing I can point to really early that I could have I probably should have specified that in instructions or in my writing style. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bullet all of these so that the difference is obvious when it's executed, because we shouldn't see these anymore. All right, I think that's enough of them to make my point. Please rewrite the first chapter. Make a point of varying sentence structure and how paragraphs start. Right now, far too many paragraphs start with pronouns. That looks amateur. Okay, so I sent the command, and now the assistant is reviewing the chapter text. I see the problem clearly. A large number of paragraphs open with he and several more with it or the. I'll rewrite the full chapter now, varying the openings with action setting time, dialogue adjacent observation, and objective first construction throughout. So it says it's going to do it, and now we are waiting for it to do it. And we'll see when my bolded he's disappear that those changes got finished. Oop, might have encountered my first error with revisions here. Because there is no text in there. Okay, note to self, save things before revisions. To navigate to versions. Nope. Okay. But it did put the text here. So I can fix this. Oh, that might be the original text that it was replacing. He. Yeah, I think that was my original text. Okay, let's try it doing that a different way. Rewrite the all right, I'm gonna oops. Place your rewritten text in this chat do not place it in the manuscript. I wish to review it before implementing it. Okay, so here's my revised command. Please rewrite the first chapter, make a point of varying sentence structure and how paragraphs start. Right now, far too many paragraphs start with pronouns. That looks amateur. Place your rewritten text in this chat. Do not place it in the manuscript. I wish to review it before implementing it. Send. Okay. And now, because I specified that I wanted it in the chat thread, not thrown into the manuscript immediately, we have our rewritten chapter appearing in the chat here. The word count is approximately 850 words, tighter than the previous version, which had ballooned to over 1,200 through redundant short paragraphs. If you'd like it closer to 1,000, I can expand specific sections. Let me know if you'd like any changes before I put it in the manuscript. One thing we can see here is there's no longer a ton of he's. So it fixed all of that. So I'm going to copy that. And I'll just place that in there. And now at this point, I could use more specific story tools to dig in here and expand or compress or rephrase, revise something. So I could start taking things and manipulating it outside the assistant if I wanted to. But let's say, all right, let's move on to chapter 2. Please write that chapter based on the scene card. So we meet our character at the CDC office in Atlanta, her supervisor. Yeah, I'm not gonna give it any notes at the moment. I'm just gonna let it cook. Okay, and now I see, because I specified beforehand in the last prompt that I didn't want it to automatically put the text into the manuscript, it retained that instruction because I didn't say anything to the contrary. So it's writing the chapter in the chat here, which is fine because I can show kind of vibrating or changing things in the chat while we're working on it here. Okay, approximately 1,050 words, ready to go into the manuscript on your say-so, or let me know what you'd like changed first. Okay, now I'm going to give it a suggestion, something silly that I would not actually do if I was being serious, but I want to kind of showcase the impact of making some changes here. So our character is Mara Voss, a name I would change, but we're going with everything today. So let's say let's rewrite this chapter because I want Mara's POV to feel very distinct from or I want it to feel very distinct from other POVs. Please make her excessively intellectual, smug, and a little condescending. The text also needs to read not like modern prose, but like it was written in the 1960s. That should be a far enough back time. Right, no difference that we should feel a little bit of a difference, right? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy this much of it, even though, well, no, I don't need to copy it because it's going to stay in the chat history. So I'm going to ask it for some very different tactics. Let's say we're just kind of vibe drafting here. And have it explore the changes based on my feedback. 6:40 in the morning, and the work was already 3 hours old. This was not unusual. Voss kept hours her colleagues found alarming, and that she found, when she thought about them at all, simply correct. 6:40 a.m. and Mara Voss was already at her desk. The office was converted, so, you know, that's it. Just the time she's at her desk, no sentiment about it. The office was a converted storage room. We're describing it a little bit. But in the rewrite, there's more thoughts about her time. Here, and no, it explained how it changed things, so that we don't have to take the time to read through all of that at the moment to verify. So it says 1960s prose register, longer, more formal sentences, subordinate clauses doing real work, a slightly elevated diction throughout. Smugness and condescension registered obliquely. Rather than telling the reader Voss is smug, the prose enacts it. Her internal assessments of Marsh, of Terence, of hospital record keeping, of colleagues who skim. She doesn't insult anybody directly. She simply has a very settled opinion of her own correctness and everyone else's inadequacy. I like that explanation. Intellectualism, her thinking process is shown. She runs calculations in her head. She distinguishes between normalizing upward and downward. She notes the difference between considering and declining. The reader sees a mind that is always working and always aware that it is working better than the minds around it. So that's an example of how you can use the assistant for kind of vibe drafting and vibe changes. And then if I loved all of this, I could copy it and put it into the book. Now I'm going to open a new thread in the assistant because I want to showcase some other things it can do beyond. So far we've showed it create the main idea, create the character cards, create all of the lore details, and it created all of these character cards and put them in their correct home and lore here. It shows the plot outline that it liked best for the story concept. It filled out all of the beats. It created the character card, or the scene cards rather, placed them in the correct chapters. It had created the chapters. It wrote text and put text into the manuscript. So I have shown the assistant's ability to do all of those things in 45 minutes. Now let's take a very quick change of tactics in the final 15 minutes here. And I want to say, let's pretend for the moment that this is a completed manuscript. Please help me design a marketing plan for this book. We need the following deliverables. Number 1, the blurb for the book, which could appear on the back cover or on retailer pages. 2, I want a summary of themes and tropes for marketing use. 3, snappy quotes I could use as hooks for TikTok, if not in the manuscript itself. Make some up that are story appropriate. After all, we haven't really generated anything of the book yet. What else do I want? 4, if I were to advertise this book on YouTube, how would you recommend I do this? I think I spelled advertise wrong. We'll see if it figures it out. So I'm asking for 4 marketing deliverables. And it's now going to, again, review the idea, review the characters, notes, the outline, the lore. It's going to look at everything that already exists. This would be more useful for a fully completed book than with the shell we have here, but proof of concept. So it gives me a blurb. They didn't want to rule the world. They wanted to end it. When a cluster of respiratory deaths in 3 American cities lands on CDC virologist Dr. Mara Voss's desk, her supervisors see a bad flu season. She sees something far worse, a pathogen that couldn't have evolved naturally. Someone built it, and someone very powerful wants her to stop saying so. Senator Daniel Hale is being courted by the most impressive people he's ever met. Billionaires, generals, former cabinet officials who speak in eloquent abstractions of planetary survival and necessary sacrifice. He's flattered, he's curious, he's being recruited into a conspiracy that has already killed thousands and is just getting started. That might be a little too telly, but this is a starting point. As the pandemic spreads across 6 countries and continents, and the body count climbs into the millions, Voss and Hale are racing towards the same terrifying truth from opposite directions. The outbreak is not the catastrophe, it's the preparation for one. Behind the pathogen is the Gaian Covenant, a cell of radical ideologues who don't want to save the planet, they want to cure it of us. Eco-terrorist pandemic, which is really not what I would make the title. It is a relentlessly paced, frighteningly plausible thriller about the collusion of scientific truth and political power, the cost of being right too early, and what 3 people with no army and 12 days left on the clock can do against an enemy that has been planning this for decades. The first wave was designed to kill millions. The second was designed to finish the job. So we have a word. I mean, I would quibble over some of the specific phrasing, but we've got a working plot or a working blurb outline here. We've got tropes to inform our marketing. Conspiracy thriller, pandemic thriller, the reluctant hero, villain with a point. It keeps wanting to make my genocidal maniac protagonists relatable. And I will have to continue to tell it not to make them sympathetic. The ticking clock. We've got the series set up. if we want to explore what happens after the pandemic here. Comp titles for marketing copy. I didn't ask for that, but it gave me this as a bonus. TikTok hooks. She wasn't trying to be a hero. She was the scientist who refused to stop being right, even when the government needed her to be wrong. So I've got different hook phrases I could use for short form video. I asked for a YouTube advertising strategy, and so it has given me some of that. I probably should have specified more that I meant like in terms of my own videos that I was creating instead of placement ads on other people's videos, but that's okay. We have some thoughts here. Additional YouTube content ideas: the science behind the story, a short explainer video on how engineered pathogens work with the book as the hook, educational content that converts, author interviews, character trailers. So I asked for a bunch of deliverables based on all of this information from the book as it is, and it is now delivered, the rough sketch of all of this information, which I could then iterate on because it has all of the context from the book. And so now let's say, out of curiosity, and we want to say out of curiosity, what other things do you think I should consider doing in the interest of promoting this book? I have, let's just pretend, let's say I have a $1,000 total budget for everything combined. So please keep that in mind to keep your suggestions in line with what I can afford. You can set your own budget. So I have now submitted the prompt here. Great question. $1,000 is a workable budget if you spend it strategically. The key is to avoid spreading it thin and instead concentrate it where thriller readers actually discover books. Here's my thinking. And so I established a budget. I gave it some guidelines, and now it's thinking things through. And I did not specify, I said in promoting the book, I did not specify no paid ads. I didn't, place any restrictions on it. So we'll see where it goes. It thinks I should spend $400 on Amazon ads, $150 on ARC distribution and reviews, book talk, and Instagram content. So it's outlining things. Would not take its suggestions as gospel, but that is an informational starting point on, okay, here's the things I should look up and think about. And now, do I really want to spend all of that money on these different items or not? Okay, good. Thank you for the tip. Make sure to stop the stream a few seconds after you stop talking, because the stream doesn't have all your words at the end. Yeah, that is the product of a like 16-second delay, or sometimes it can be that much between the end. So thank you for letting me know that, because I am not always cognizant of that near the end here, and we only have about 5 minutes left. So I gave it a budget. It suggested different marketing things that I could try based on the content of the book. 3 things that cost nothing but time. What to avoid with our theoretical $1,000 budget. Blog tours, press release, distribution services, Facebook, Instagram ads, vanity review services, all very common things. I would tell a beginner with only one book out not to worry about. The single most thing you can do with this budget is get reviews before you spend it on ads. That is sensible advice, actually. I would say the same, to worry more about ARC readers than paid advertisements early on. Would you like help drafting any of these assets? The reader magnet, the press kit, podcast, pitch email, anything else? Say, what would you do for a reader magnet for this book? And as a separate question, what would you put in a press kit? So now I'm asking the assistant, the further along you are when asking these questions of the book, the more valuable details and insights it can give you, because it's going to have more to work from. Right now, I'm asking questions of the assistant on how I market this book based only on the outline and the character cards and the unfinished initial chapter. So it's going to make its best guesses with things, but it wouldn't be as detailed as if I really did have a complete finished manuscript in here. And now I'm asking the assistant to look over all of it and give me some context and ideas. So when we say, how do we get a reader magnet to promote this story? It's suggestion, in-world documents. A traditional free short story reader magnet is fine, but you have something far more interesting available to you. This book's premise is built on institutional documents, classified intelligence, and scientific data. That means you can create reader magnets that feel like artifacts from inside the story world, that kind of immersive, shareable content that is catnip for thriller readers. I recommend one of the following 3 options ranked by my preference. So it recommends writing a manifesto of the eco-terrorists and presenting that as an in-world document, fueling kind of the backstory for the events of this book, and using that as a reader magnet. And that would be fun to write, to step into the head of a maniac who thinks that, humanity is a plague and they all need to be wiped out, and to write that manifesto. I'd have to get myself into a headspace that I wouldn't really love to exist in, because I am not a genocidal maniac. But that would be a fun thing to write to promote this kind of book. A CDC internal briefing. So kind of create a fake memo, classified intelligence summary. So it's given me a few different options to think about as a reader magnet. And I do think number 1 would be fun to do. I like that idea. Press kit contents, the cover image, the blurb, author bio, fact sheet, book details, the why this book, why now statement. So 7, 8, 9, it's given me a whole list of things to think about for a press kit to promote this book, and it's going to have the information in there. So this was, it's 12:59 here, so I'm going to wrap up our stream at this point. But this was a very rapid overview of the sorts of things that can be done with the assistant. I can talk with it to vibe on an idea and refine an idea. It can then fill in all of the wiki. The assistant can take the idea, summarize it, drop it in here. It can create the character cards. I didn't show it in this stream, but it can also revise character cards. It can create and place in the lore here. It can select the genre of plot template that works best with the idea, substitute that in automatically, fill in all the plot beats automatically based on conversations, modify all of them based on revisions as we showed, generate scene cards, generate text, revise text, generate marketing plans. The assistant is so much more versatile now than it used to be. It's a very powerful feature, which really you would need to be a paid member with one of our subscriptions to be able to use. If you are just starting out with the free credits that we've given, that'd be enough to get started using these features, but probably not take a very deep dive on them. Which is something to keep in mind, is that this level of context sorting through does use more tokens than smaller prompts, but it can be more powerful as well. So that will wrap things up. I hope everyone has a good day. And in keeping with Samuel's suggestion, I will let things run for a little bit before closing things down. But I hope you all have a good day.